welcome everybody. Happy New Year. And I just want to remind everyone present in this meeting will be recorded, and I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:32. The first order for our business, like we need to approve the minute from our last meeting. So I wish everybody like they saw the minute and they read it. Does anybody have any correction to the minute for our last meeting?
And I will just say, I apologize for the confusion. Those are your December minutes. For some reason, the header did not get updated. So you may be looking at those and going, are these the November ones or the December ones? They're actually December. One correction is definitely that date at the top needs to be fixed.
Does anyone have any correction? Just the date? Then can I have I move to approve this minute from last month meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
I second.
Okay, so anybody second that motion? I think Manager already, she's second. Okay, so can we like have aye for everybody who to approve for voting? Thank you. I think motion passed and minutes from last month, I mean December, are approved. Thank you. Now let me move to our next agenda item. Just want to welcome everybody on this room, on this meeting. And Alexis, do we have any public comment?
Yeah, it looks like we have 2 visitors that are familiar to us. So I'm going to go ahead and promote them into the room so we can see if they have any comments. Jody Monroy is here and Osvaldo Bernal is here as well. So do either of you, would either of you like to address the board, or are you just listening in tonight?
Excuse me, Alexis, you have a lot of echoes. It's hard to hear you.
Yeah, like I think we have something like with like echo or like feedback coming.
Okay. I'm gonna go get some headphones.
Okay. So then I will ask our visitors like if there's any public comment or they want to share any ideas or thoughts. I think Gina, she have raised her hand. So please, Gina.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenna Hughes. I'm an associate planner with the Community Development Department at the city. I regularly sit in on these meetings and sometimes make announcements about planning or housing projects at the city. And but other than that, I am here to also serve as a resource for you all if you ever have any questions or comments that you'd like to share. But I do have 2 announcements to make. The first is there are, I guess I don't have the ability to share my screen, but I shared with Alexis a flyer for an upcoming event series that we're hosting with Unite Oregon. And Unite Oregon is a really awesome organization. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar, community-based organization. And so we are having 3 events with them in early February, February 5th, 7th, and 10th. And it is titled Beaverton Housing, the Present and the Future. Oh, thanks, Alexis. And so the topics that we'll be discussing are present housing issues, which include renters' rights and fair housing, and then also looking into the future at the Cooper Mountain Community Plan and looking at different scenarios for the brand new neighborhoods that are being planned in Southwest Beaverton. So the 3 events, the content will all be the same, but we're having one of the events will be fully facilitated in Spanish, and the February 10th event will be fully facilitated with an Arabic facilitator, but the content will all be the same. And stipends are available, and you can register by January 31st. There's a QR code there, but there's also, there's the bit.ly address. And yeah, so if you have any questions, or, please feel free to share with those in your community who you think will be interested. And then the second announcement is more of a follow-up from last meeting. I know that Casara Phipps, I believe she came and she talked about the Cooper Mountain Community Plan, and it's now in the stage where they're considering 3 different scenarios, and Casara is looking for volunteers from DAB to help conduct an equity analysis to help us decide what's the best scenario that will give us the most equitable outcomes. And so she just wants to make that announcement again. If there are any volunteers, it'll be an 1.5-hour meeting in early February. And I think Alexis has the information on those exact dates if you're interested. Please get back to you. I'll leave Casara's email in the chat if you want to contact her directly. Please do so by January 20th. And that's it. But again, feel free to chat me if you have any more questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Gina. I think Osvaldo, you have like a public comment too. Please, Osvaldo.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to see you guys again. Happy New Year to everybody. And just really quick, I just wanted to say hi. First and foremost, I still think about you guys every month, not to say it every day. I have learned a lot during last year as a member of the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee. And with that, there has been talk about doing some work through that committee and the Diversity Advisory Board. So I know that one of the topics of work for the DAB is economic development. And this committee, the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee, they do talk a lot about opportunities. I think the restaurants that are coming into the area is one big topic. During my first meeting last year, I mentioned that I don't see any restaurants owned by minorities coming into to downtown, which is growing, and it's just going to be a really place to go in the summer. And so with your guys' help, just be on the lookout for these opportunities. Talk to your networks, and I'll do my best to continue to put pressure on city officials and these committees so that they pay attention to minority-owned businesses, because we need them. And so please don't lose sight of those things, those opportunities. They are out there. And hopefully with your guys' help, we can move and help our communities move forward and create economic opportunities for our communities and for the city of Beaverton. We all benefit. It's a win, 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 win win-win situation. And that's it. That's all I have. I'll keep coming in just like I did tonight. Thank you for
Please.
allowing me the time, and have a good night.
Thank you, Oswaldo. We miss you, and we are happy you will be there. So we will have a resource. And please, if you can come every meeting, that will be honored. So
Thank you.
thank you. Next item in our agenda, I think we need to welcome Jenny Haruyama. She's a manager for like the city manager. So Jenny, yours.
Thank you. Had trouble unmuting myself. I just wanted to check in and say hello, and also thank you for all of your work on the latest DEI update and plan. We had a great presentation by staff, and I believe there might have been one or more DAB members as a part of that as well. So I appreciate your work on that, and just wanted to introduce myself. I think I am like almost to month 5. So although it feels like a little bit longer than that. And so working through meeting everybody, and wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to pop on at the beginning of the new year. And I know that you're going to have new commissioners to welcome. And also, I believe, a new council liaison that I see on the screen as well. And so I just wanted to kind of share a few things with you while I have you. I don't want to stand in between you and other introductions of folks, but one of the things that I'm sure that Councilor Tivnon, who's also on with me, can chime in, is the council had their retreat, and they had identified about 8 different goal areas. And so they'll be kind of codifying their goal areas sometime in February. And I'm in the process of developing a work plan to identify kind of key priorities that fall underneath all of those goals. But one of the things I wanted to share with you is that the council also developed this preamble, and it talks about how they approach their goals and the work that they want to do in the community through a lens. And that's a lens of, at the foremost, equity, a lens of fiscal sustainability and climate action, and also community vision. And so I thought that that was really important to share, that that was a priority, and that is in which they look at the world and look at their goals for this community. And so the fact that equity and inclusion was at the center of that, I thought that you would recognize that importance. So you'll hear more about the goals, but one particular action item that I think you'll be interested in is that I'll begin work shortly on developing a scope of work and an RFP for a comprehensive review of police policy and procedures. And I hope as we get through that body of work and that scope, and we look through the selection participation part, that we can incorporate a member of DAB on that, a member of HREC on that, and just have a very inclusive process in that selection. So I'll be coming back working through Alexis with more information as we start that process. But I wanted to just put that in your ears so that you know that we want to include our commissions, particularly those that are involved and have a vested interest in that are a pretty key stakeholder in that process. And I thought that was really important that we include you. So more to come on that. I just wanted to kind of do a little bit of a toe in the water and introduce that topic. I think that you'll want to be paying attention to that one really closely, as will the other commissions and council. So I wanted to just kind of pause there and just if there's any questions that you have. I know you've got an agenda filled with good stuff. So happy to answer any questions that you might have, but just wanted to kind of put a face with a name, and then just extend my appreciation for the work that you do, because you are volunteers, and I do know it takes a lot of time to do this work. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Anybody have any question or want to ask any maybe clarification or something? I think Jenny, she will be here, and even you can put it in the chat, or like if you have any question. So I think, Alexis, we have the next item in our agenda is the board member introductions.
That's right. Yes. Is my audio better?
Yes, it's way better.
Good. Sorry about that. Yes, absolutely. We have just a round of introductions from board members. We want to make sure everybody has a chance to just at least show their face and say a few words so that everyone knows who folks are. We have 4 new folks joining us tonight and then a lot of returning people. So just ask you to keep your intros to maybe just about a minute or 2. But if you could share your name and if you've been on the board for a while, how long you've been on the board. If you're new, perhaps something about why Diversity Advisory Board, but we'll let you do your intros as you'd like. One other piece of instructions is just if you could pick the next person to go after you, that would be easiest. So Ahmed, would you like to kick us off and then pick the person to go next?
Yeah, of course. My name is Ahmed Zubaydi. I'm originally from Iraq. I came to the United States as a refugee, and I work in Beaverton School District as a community liaison who speak Arabic. I can consider myself as a community leader in Arabic Muslims community, and I'm being in this committee, I think, or this board. This is the 3rd year in this board, so I will pick Shara.
I was so ready. It's always me. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. And it's good to meet a lot of new familiar faces. I'd like to welcome our city manager, new councilor, and 4 new board members. And it was so good to hear about Osvaldo. I'll send hug to our old member that we miss them forever, and you're always welcome to come and attend our meeting. My name is Shara Nouri. I'm from Iraq. I'm Kurdish, and I'm a vice chair for the board. That's my 3rd year with the board. And I work as employment specialist at Lutheran Community Services. And I teach gymnastics for a little kid from 3 till 13-year-old at THPRD. And I will pick Raman.
Good evening, everybody. I am Raman Belgi, originally from Fiji. Have been in Beaverton since 1980. I have served on this board last year. This is my 2nd year. That's about it, I guess. I will pick Allison.
Hello, my name is Allison Tivnon. I am a city councilor, just starting my 2nd year. And I asked to be the liaison for this group. I'm so excited that I was assigned it. I cannot wait to get to know all of you. And I won't take up any more time right now because I want to learn about all of you. And I'll say a few more words when it comes time for the council liaison update. Let's see here. How about we go with Elijah?
Okay. Hi, I'm Elijah. Trying to remember everything that we were supposed to say. I am one of the new members, and I decided to do this because I have done some diversity, equity, inclusion stuff work in the past, and when I saw that they're looking for new members, I'm like, oh, hey, I should sign up, and that's what I did, and I'm glad I'm here, and I'm excited to work with everyone. I think that's it, so I will pass it on to Mike.
Welcome, Elijah. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Elijah. I am also a new member, folks. Nice to meet you all. My name is Mike Nguyen. I am a 1st generation Vietnamese American. I come from all the way down in the Bay Area from California. I did a lot of advocacy work in the LGBT Advisory Committee on the Human Rights Commission there. Super glad to be here, and I can't wait to work with all of you. I will choose Olga.
Thank you, Mike. So I see new people choosing new people. I'm also a new board member representing Olga Cherevatenko, originally from Siberia, Russia. representing Slavic and Eastern European Center from IRCO, Immigrant and Refugees Community Organization, where I'm a case manager and activities coordinator. And we feel like it's Slavic voice is not presented in Washington County at all. Lots of majority of people in Multnomah County and Clackamas County. So we decided, so we need someone with a strong opinion and energy and passion and positivity be in City of Beaverton. I apply for this position, really like to be here. I really like to learn about all activities and participate. So count me as the most energetic and positive person. Thank you. I'm next one, I'll go with Monica.
Welcome, Olga.
Hi, Happy New Year to everyone. Hi, my name is Monica, and this is my 8th year as a board member of DAB. I'm one of the originals, kind of it, and starting the night market, I'm part of it, and I'm still going on, and I love being back, and I'm being here for such a long time because I believe on what we do. And I welcome all the new members. And I'm very happy that you became our chairperson. I'm very happy that you accepted the position. Thank you. Oh, I don't know who else needs to be picked. I don't see that many here. Names.
Could be Amrit or Rehana, Anusha, Annie, Yugana, Alex.
Can you pick for me? I don't see the names. I'm sorry.
Sure. Annie, do you want to go ahead?
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi. Happy New Year, everyone. My name is Annie. I'm originally from China. Have been in Beaverton since 2012. This is my 2nd year on board, and I have learned a lot. I'm looking forward to working with everyone more and then more. Yeah, okay, I will pick up Rehana.
Oh, hi there, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome, existing members and new members. So excited for this year. My name is Rehana Malik. I am originally born and bred in England and from Pakistan originally, my background. Been in Portland for the last 17 years, I'd say. Mother of 3 boys, active boys, and I'm a part-time author, children's book author, and a full-fledged mother, doing, all the chores and everything. But that's a big job in itself. So welcome everyone, and excited to be here. And I want to choose, let's see, who haven't we had? Ogana.
Thank you, Rehana. My name is Yugona Enyinaya, and I was born and raised in Nigeria. I moved to Oregon in 2008, and I've lived in Beaverton ever since. I've been a member of DAP since 2020, and it has been a fantastic and rewarding experience since then. So I just want to welcome the new members, and this is one of the best boards to be a part of. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
How about Amrit next?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, Amrit.
It's harder once it gets to the end. I've got my list going so I can help.
Great, I'm glad you didn't forget me, but I was hoping you would. My name is Amrit Man, and let's see, I'm a new member, and I have been living in Beaverton since 2003. I believe we moved here, in 2003. I've done some diversity work with the Oregon State Bar. The term expired at the end of December, and I had heard about this City of Beaverton's DEB program, so I thought I'd try my hand over here as well. I know about Unite Oregon. Sahara and I were in that Unite Oregon together, and we actually worked with, we did a presentation, I think in 2019, the Vietnamese community. So when it comes to working with groups, I'm open to work working with any group, right? I just don't want to say that it has to be just this nationality or this background. So it was really enjoyable. We did a presentation on wedge politics and it was really fun. I work for the state of Oregon and I have started a diversity board there as well. We just finally got the charter done. So, you know, we're going to start doing actual work. I'm hoping as of, you know, maybe next month or so, we'll start working on different projects. But I'm looking forward to working here with everyone. Everyone seems so nice and so welcoming. So thank you. And let's see, I can choose, who is it? Matt? I don't think you've gone.
My name's Matt Kingsbury. I'm a lieutenant with the Beaverton Police Department. I think I'm going on month 5 as liaison to the Diversity Advisory Board. Been a police officer in Beaverton for 19 years. Prior to that, just like all of you, I actually volunteered for the police department for a number of years, both as a police cadet when I was in high school, and then also as a reserve police officer. So 27 years, Beaverton is my community, and I'm committed to our safety and your safety in advancing policing, and I'm excited to be here and work with you guys.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Alexis?
We have a few people left. Yeah, we have Anusha, would you like to go next?
I'll go next. Hi, everyone. It's great to see all the new faces and everybody else that is returning from last year. So this is my 3rd year on DAB, and I actually was one of the hosts of our virtual night market back in 2020. So pretty cool, cool opportunity there. And I am, in my day job, I work in the tech industry, and I mostly grew up in the Beaverton area, so I know the area pretty well. And I'm just really looking forward to getting to know everyone that is new on the board, and then continuing to do all the awesome work that we do as DAB.
Thanks, Anisha. Alex,
sure.
would you like to go next?
I'm Alex. I think this is my 3rd year on the board. I joined up. I've done some kind of LGBT advocacy in the past and connected with my work of being an attorney. So I was interested in getting involved. I have no idea who's left, if anyone.
We have Hiro and Mani J left.
Yes.
Hiro, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm Hiral Pandya. I joined this board last year, so this is my 2nd year. I work as an engineer at Intel, and also have done a lot of volunteer activities at school, in community, in different organizations. And yeah, looking forward to do more work over here. And I'll give it to Alexis.
To Manije is our last
Manije,
person.
yeah.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you so much. Salam alaikum. Hello, hola, and hello in all languages to all of you. I'm so excited with this new year, and welcome all the new members and the returning members and everyone, and the new city liaisons. I cannot wait to see you all in person, or next time maybe on video online. My name is Manije, and I'm originally from Iran. I've been in the States for a long, long time, and especially in Beaverton. And this is my 8th year with the DAP, and I am really loving it, and I'm honored to be part of this board meeting. And I just stop here because we're going to get to know each other more in the future meetings, and have fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager. And I think we have another like public, Alexis, Maria, or
Mariah is part of our Five Oaks Museum team that will
Oh,
present a
okay.
little bit later. So
Okay, so
yeah.
she's one of our guests, and
Returning.
welcome, Maria. Okay, so let's move to the next item in our agenda. I think will be like liaison, introduction, and reports. So let's go with Lieutenant Matt Kingsbury.
Hello, everyone. Just a couple things that I wanted to share this month. It's my understanding that some of the board members have posed the question of what can the DAB do to help the police department. And I think when I saw that question and gave it some thought, one of the things specifically for me, having experience with recruiting and hiring for our agency, hiring and recruiting came to mind. A lot of times, people from different cultures don't necessarily see law enforcement as a potential career opportunity, and we're trying to figure out a way to change that. So I would invite, and I plan on putting both my email address and contact info in the chat. I definitely welcome any feedback or ideas that the board members have to help us with recruiting and hiring from diverse communities. We definitely have a desire to represent the community, and we welcome any feedback that can be given. We also occasionally have members from the Human Rights Advisory Commission or the Diversity Advisory Board sit as panel members on both promotional interviews and also entry-level interviews. So if that's something specifically that interests you, you can either get that word to me through Alexis, or again, please take down my contact info and you can reach out to me directly, and I'll make sure that the person responsible for hiring gets your information. Second thing I wanted to share was an invitation to the February 2nd Human Rights Advisory Commission meeting. The chief will be present, and I believe also a representative from the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission to share information about the 2021 STOPS report. And if you're not familiar with what STOPS is, it stands for the Statistical Transparency of Policing, and it stems from an Oregon House bill that passed in 2017. That was House Bill number 2355. And basically, it mandated police agencies to submit data to the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission regarding officer-initiated traffic and pedestrian stops, with the purpose being to allow the CJC to analyze the data for evidence of racial and/or ethnic disparities. That's a tiered reporting program. We're in tier 1 based on the size of our agency. So we started reporting to the CJC in July of 2018. And again, I'd like to invite you to that meeting to learn more about the report. And also I'm going to throw in the chat the web address for the CJC overview on the STOPS program if you want to take a look at it more later. And I think that's all I have to share. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay.
Yeah, they will make it easier for you, Matt. So just enjoy that no question tonight. And so next item will be with our Councilor Allison Tivnon. So the mic's yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So please call me Allison. And I wanted to take this first update to give you kind of a broad overview of some of the topics that I think are going to be occurring throughout the year on pretty heavy hitting and important conversations and decisions that the council is going to be weighing in on. But prior to that, I wanted to just kind of frame how we're entering into the year. So we have 2 seats that are coming open for the general election. And we've already got some folks that have announced that they're running for those seats. I'm sure other folks will come out to announce as well. And then Councilor Mark Fagan decided at the end of this last year that he needed to step away from his council role and officially resigned his position at the end of December. So his seat is going to be going up for a special election that will be on the same timetable up until the primaries, which happen in May. So we're going to have 3 new councilors essentially joining us very soon. And it's a little shocking to think that myself and Councilor Nadia Hussein, who both started at the same time last year, are pretty soon going to be the most seasoned councilors. So it's a new council and in a lot of ways, young council. I have a year under my belt. I had the honor of being the liaison to the BCCI and the Committee on Aging last year, and I learned a lot through that process. Very important to me is knowing what you want in your counselor liaison. Is it just to pop in and give you a very brief overview of what we'll be talking about at future meetings or outcomes from prior meetings? Or do you want a deeper dive? I'd love to get your thoughts on that, tonight, or you can always email me. And then I'd like to know what success looks like in that way. I intend to be at your meetings from beginning to end, just quietly listening, because I think just as important as me coming in to share what the council's working on, it's really important for me to listen and to relay back what I'm learning to my fellow counselors, and which I'm really excited to do. So I would like to just say that I think that the top 5 items that are going to be probably pretty high profile and very important, and every single one of them is, it's going to be important that the Diversity Advisory Board is weighing in on, and they're not in any particular order, is conversations that we're having around the ARPA money, the American Recovery Plan Act funds that are coming in, and just your feedback on how it's going with us as we're getting those funds out and into the community, and then explaining it as well as we go. Cooper Mountain Development, as you heard earlier, this is still in planning stages in a lot of ways, but it's pretty far along too. And I want to know any concerns you have or ideas along the way, as well as to share any information that you want. The Climate Action Task Force is also getting started this year. Very excited to support them in figuring out what success looks like for them and how the council can support them in their work. We have the SRO conversation coming up, the school resource officers, the Beaverton School District and the City Council are going to enter into a joint process with a lot of support from a third-party consultant to reach out to all stakeholders around this topic, including the schools, the teachers, the administration, students, their families, the Beaverton Police Department, and others that are very close to this and have their own perspectives on it and can help the school board and inform the decision-making around what the future of that program looks like. And the council will be there to listen carefully and to be a part of that conversation in terms of how do we support whatever the board and the school district decides they need to keep students safe. And I'm looking for that conversation. It's going to be kicking off soon, and I will be keeping you updated on that in any way you would like me to, and at the level of depth you would like. And then the last one is the permanent shelter. Right now we have a severe weather shelter in place in Beaverton. And in the last year, we have started exploring putting in a permanent shelter. Hillsborough just selected a site for their year-round permanent shelter, and we're having those conversations as well. We have not selected a site, but we have come up with criteria for what we're looking for in a site. So that conversation is going to be continuing this year as well. I would be more than happy to go out for coffee with any one of you if you want to meet one-on-one. And again, I'm going to put my email into the chat. Please don't be shy about reaching out. And I'm happy to answer any questions now if anyone has any.
Thank you, Allison. And I think we are lucky because Matt offered coffee and tea too. So you have like good opportunity meeting Matt and Allison, so don't waste that. Like it's just look like well, you will have a good meeting. So Alexis, we will have to move to next item.
We are scheduled to talk about the People's History of Beaverton, but we do have a few minutes if there's any questions for either of the liaisons before we move on. Just wanted to pause one more minute for that.
And by the way, Matt and Allison, they left their emails and contact number, I think, in the chat. So if you can save it, or maybe later you can, so you will have it when you need it. So any other questions? I think Rihanna, she have a question.
Hi, yeah. Thank you both of you for your updates. Alison, I have a quick question. When is the deadline for the ARPA funds due to be decided upon? Is there a deadline?
We're actually very lucky that we have our city manager here. She's living and breathing this right now, so she might actually be able to give you a more detailed answer. But what on its basic level, we have split it into two different tranches, which are basically we're going to take some of the money and distribute it first, and then we're going to do a second round later on. And these are all focused on items that are specifically tied to recovery from the pandemic. And that's everything from small business to health and wellness, community wellness, reaching out to communities that have been impacted severely by the pandemic. And yeah, Jenny, would you like to talk at all about the timing of that?
Sure. So we will be providing a tranche one update actually shortly to council and the community. The majority of those funds were for economic development, as Councilor Tivnon said, about $2 million. And then roughly maybe another 1.6 million, 1.8 million into affordable housing. And then also some significant dollars into equity and engagement. As well. And then we also have some additional small funds for some library programming around youth wellness as well. But the larger tranche, and there's two tranches, one was worth about $8 million. The second tranche is worth about another $8 million. And that will be discussed coming up in the spring. So maybe expect a conversation about March, April, somewhere around there. And again, there'll be some challenging conversations because we are grappling with some budgetary constraints as well. So that'll fold into that discussion too. And just to let you know as well, in the tranche one allocations, there was a significant amount of funds set aside for the shelter as well. So we could have adequate funds to acquire a shelter location site if we are able to identify one.
Great, thank you. Just a quick follow-up question. I know there was some talk about a multicultural center, and will you be putting some funds towards that? Is that something that you're thinking about?
So the council did in those discussions allocate about $75,000 to start to talk about kind of the feasibility and really what is the multicultural center and ask those fundamental questions. So staff's in the process of kind of getting together all of the materials of what there's been a tremendous amount of work that's being done in the past and then that some community organizations are doing now. So we're pulling that together and then going to get in front of council to ask a few questions. And I think that'll be another great conversation to pay attention to. Eventually it will come back to the commissions for a conversation so that you have a bite at that apple. But right now we're still kind of in the planning phases. And I would say probably that conversation would happen maybe within the next 6 months with council. Just to kind of get started to see what those initial questions need to be asked so that we can get a scope of work put together within a consultant body.
Great, thank you.
So no other questions? Okay, then we will move to the next item in our agenda. I think it will be like People History of Beaverton project update. And I think Alex will talk about that and Five Oaks Museum stuff. So Alexis, it's yours.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm excited to invite back Molly, Victoria, and Mariah from the Five Oaks team who are here tonight with us. For those of you who were on the board last year, you'll remember hopefully back in June, they came to present a summary of the project and how they were collaborating on it. So that project has continued. It's a multi-year project, and we're excited about the progress. You received over email a copy of the sort of phase 1 product that was produced out of that. And so the idea tonight is to have a chance to check in, talk a little bit from the team about how that's going and some of the things that they've encountered along the way and sort of the direction that we're thinking of going, and hear some input from you all, and just make sure that this connection is strong and that you all are a part of the process of advising on this really important project, which I should have said, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is really about trying to dive deeper on our rather narrow and reductive historical narrative of the city. So when we talk about the city of Beaverton's origins, we want to be talking about all of the amazing diverse communities that were part of making Beaverton what it is today. And we haven't always been very good as a city institution telling all those stories, and some of them aren't documented, right? So so we're looking to broaden and deepen that historical narrative to help with many different processes, some of which you all have held up as priorities, such as a place naming policy for the city and other forms of recognition and ways to further this knowledge and sense of belonging in the community. So with that, I'll turn it over to I'll turn it over to Molly, but wherever you all want to go first is great. And thanks for being here again tonight.
Thank you so much, Alexis, and thank you to the whole board for sharing your time with us. I know that y'all have a lot of work that you come together to do and look at, so we're really pleased to be able to be here and connect with y'all as a resource in this work. Like Alexis said, Five Oaks Museum's been working with the city of Beaverton on a project that is sort of currently named People's History of Beaverton. And the objective is to look at how history about place and about identity in Beaverton is being told, and specifically to address the really conspicuous erasure of a lot of folks that have come and contributed over time and today. And so I'll turn it over, I think, just with that. Five Oaks Museum, I guess to give a little context, and my colleagues will expand a little bit, but we're an organization that's been in this community for over 60 years. And that recently, just a few years ago, we went through a major overhaul, also looking at how storytelling was functioning in the institution, looking at the institution's own position within the community and the kinds of narratives that we were uplifting, and really digging deep on how we could become a resource for the whole community and a resource for storytelling about history and about contemporary culture that accurately reflects the rich community in which we live. And two of the key colleagues that have been doing the research and developing the materials and making the community relationships to support all this work that we've been doing are with me, Victoria and Mariah. I'm Molly Alloy, one of Five Oaks Museum's co-directors, and I'll hand it to them. And then y'all can hand it back to me at the end, Victoria and Mariah, and I'll share just a little bit about how we've got sort of the phase 2 planned to continue this work coming up soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Alexis. And hi, everyone. It's a joy to be here with you all, and happy and excited to share about this People's History of Beaverton project that we have been working on at the museum. So I am going to share my screen, and my colleague Victoria and I are going to walk you through just a quick overview of us at the museum and who the team is that's worked on this. And then we'll dive right into the project, and we'll go through the same document that Alexis sent you earlier. And we'll have a little discussion at the end. And like Molly just said, we'll talk about what's on the horizon for this project. Okay, hello. Here we are. Just to dive a little deeper into what Molly just shared, this is our project team. I'm Mariah Berlanga Shevchuk. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Cultural Resources Manager at Five Oaks Museum. And my role in this team has been a researcher working within our own museum collection and helping to work on the interpretation of the information that we have found and getting that into its final output. Victoria, do you want to introduce yourself, please? Did we lose Victoria? Oh, your sound. Oh, tragic. Oh no, Victoria's computer has some sound issues with Zoom. Oh my gosh. So Molly, I think you might be giving this presentation with me. Sorry everyone. Zoom difficulties. Victoria Sundell is our head of integrated learning. She was also part of the research team, focusing on special subject areas such as like tectonics and their history in Beaverton. And she also worked with me on interpretation, and she designed the final product that you all have gotten to see. Not final, sorry, but the current product that you've gotten to see. Lyndon Howe is the critical librarian on staff. She oversees the library in the museum, and she's an excellent researcher. And so she worked with us to coordinate with external collections, doing research outside of the museum. And specifically, she worked with the Beaverton Library. And then of course, Molly Alloy, who you've just met earlier, co-director, and sorry, that's our internal name for it, People's History of Beaverton project manager, working closely with Alexis. Right, so I'll share just a little bit about the museum history. Molly shared that we've been in the community for over 60 years. This museum started in its earliest form as a pioneer affinity group in the late 19th century. That earliest iteration coalesced into a historical society, I believe in the mid-50s, that was under the supervision of Washington County. So it was actually a county entity, which means that the collection to this day is still legally owned by the museum. But in the 1980s, Washington County Historical Society branched out, became Washington County Museum and an independent nonprofit. And we opened up our current building on the PCC Rock Creek campus in the late 80s. That's that picture in the top right corner. Molly mentioned that there was a bit of a transformation a couple years ago. In January of 2020, we rebranded and relaunched as Five Oaks Museum. Our name comes from a historic site in the Hillsborough, Helvetia area that I encourage you all to learn more about on our website. And to correspond with our new namesake, we also started working off of 5 values. These values function similar to a mission statement for us in that they really guide all of our work. And we incorporate these values into every aspect of what we do, not just our research and interpretation, but even our budget and our facilities management. And after we became Five Oaks Museum, we reopened with this was our first exhibition really with the Five Oaks ethos in mind, but this was technically as Washington County Museum. And this was the exhibition that saw us through the launch as Five Oaks Museum. And this is Calipuyan land is viewable in its entirety on our website. So I won't go too into detail about it here, but it has been a resource to Washington County staff and commissioners. Most recently, Victoria used the information and kind of principles of This is Calipuyan land to lead 3 separate trainings for county staff ahead of the land acknowledgement process, or as part of the new land acknowledgement process. So shout out to her. And now we'll talk a little bit.
Thank you, Mariah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. I've had ongoing audio issues, so I'm here with a second audio on my phone to come in and share my part of the project here. So with this project, we've worked with the city of Beaverton to compile and share an anti-racist history of Beaverton. We started out with calling it the People's History of Beaverton, although we know that since it's not actually a project that's coming from the people, as it's, a project of the museum with the city, that is a name that we need to workshop more and figure out what we want to really call this project. But it is a multi-phase project to learn more about Beaverton's history in order to support that shared identity among people of all backgrounds in Beaverton as we go through the phases. So the first phase was to research biographies of individuals who've contributed to Beaverton's history. And that is the document that Alexis shared with you all over email. And then we're looking ahead at moving into our second phase after that. And Mariah, I think, is there a, yep. So we wanted to run through the biographies that you all saw attached to the email, just to make sure that we all got a chance to see them together. As you can see, the list of biographies, it's a starting point for our research. We started with looking through the museum's collection, with other organizations' collections, and speaking with families who've been in the community a long time to start to see what information was out there, and then also to identify the gaps. I think we can just run through the biographies. Yeah. They are placed in most recent to oldest, to sort of give a sense of stepping back in time as we go through the biography.
Yeah, so the biographies for this phase, we compiled 30 in total. That was kind of a more or less arbitrary number that we chose. And from that, we found both living and historical figures to include. And for all of the folks who are living, we contacted them to get their consent for being included in this project. And so, and some of them were even able to actually weigh in on their biographies and their information that's included. What you see in purple on pretty much every page is when we could find something that was in their own voice, we wanted to, it was really important to us to include that. And a few of these folks came through from the last presentation that we gave in June. We had asked you all to submit some names of folks in the community that you knew were doing good work, and we were able to connect with folks through that. So we're really grateful for your recommendations.
One of the things we found as we were researching is that so many of the people who've contributed to Beaverton's history, you know, a lot of them are still living, whether their impact is happening today or it happened, you know, in the 70s or 80s. And these are folks that are still part of the Beaverton community. Here we start getting into more of the historical biographies.
And you can see as we get into more historic biographies that there are fewer than there were of contemporary folks. And that was part of the challenge in doing this project, was realizing the depth of which people of color, Black people, Indigenous people were excluded intentionally from the historic record. And that's something that you'll see we discuss at the end of the document.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that BIPOC folks weren't present in Beaverton and the surrounding area, but rather that there was a lack of recording.
All right. So we can launch into our methodology and considerations just to kind of wrap up, and then we're happy to do a Q&A at 6:30. So actually this is perfectly the time for Q&A. So we'll just run through this quickly. We walked you through the goals of the project. Like I said, our values really animate all of the work that we do.
That's where we're especially looking for your community input to make sure this really reflects the community.
Yeah, so these were just some of the considerations that came up for us throughout doing this work and that we worked through in conversation with Alexis, but things like this, are really ongoing in the field of history more broadly. But we mentioned that the name of this project is a temporary name. So we're really asking ourselves, what does it mean to create a people's history? How do we address bias in ourselves as researchers and bias in the record? And how do we find the balance between talking about triumph versus trauma when talking about historically marginalized people? Let's see. All right, and then Victoria mentioned the order of the biographies already. This was something that allows us to let this project continue into the future, and also allows us to keep going backwards, to go further back if we can. And it, like we said, it ensures that there's an Indigenous presence and not just us choosing a random starting point in history. Okay. A challenge that we've already talked about, the fact of white supremacy and historic record keeping. There's a variety of reasons why that is. Nonetheless, even in our own collection, that makes the work challenging because it's just harder to find or it doesn't exist. And it also was emotionally taxing as researchers to be doing this work.
So as we're looking forward into the second phase of the project, we are thinking about collecting more information about both the people identified in this first phase and also seeking out other folks. There's an idea about collecting oral histories related to these folks.
Yeah, Molly, do you want to hop in to talk about the future?
Yeah, perfect. So it really segues right from those reflections shared at the end of that presentation that y'all can spend more time with if you're interested in the process more. And of course, we can answer questions. But we've been so grateful that working with the team at Beaverton that there's been the ability to really learn from the work and be responsive to the work and what we took away from the first phase, most of which has already been shared. So I'll just say that expansion of the 30 bios is something that we are excited to continue to do, not just to hit a certain number of additional bios, because there's no number of individuals who could ever fully represent the entire community, but we are really looking to get as close to representative, pool of bios as we can. That way it will be an effective resource for things like naming or developing a more overarching historical narrative. But also we'd like to continue to bring more depth to the bios that we have, or use them as stepping stones to be able to access some information that isn't as readily available within the record. So, again, your input as a group was really helpful for us before in identifying some of the folks to feature, and that was really exciting. And now we're hoping that there might be some channels we can follow that aren't in sort of formal historical records, but we might be able to access family knowledge and more kind of archives that might not be kept with as much of a self-awareness of being an archive or a public resource, but something that might be held within the community, whether it's known by living people, histories about past people, or it's material that's held in community possession, so that we can try to not only create this new history based on what is available and kind of extrapolating to show the true diversity of Beaverton looking further back into the past, but also that we can make a real contribution to the historical record and expand that record so that it is more and more accurate over time. And then the other aspect that we're looking at for this next term is to really start looking at how can we bridge from a collection of biographies about individuals, which I think personally my take is that in part we wanted to start with that and the city wanted to start with that, because if you can't tell the whole story, if you tell a specific story, at least it has that sort of sincerity and that depth that like one individual's life can convey. But we do feel that there really is a need for a history that can sort of start to grow towards standing in for some of the summary histories that do come up as helpful resources, or at least that are prominently told and, you know, trafficked culturally, that can often be really reductive and that often, if not carefully updated, can just carry on biases from the past. And so we're going to start looking at what might be some important themes, some important lenses through which we could look at the recorded Beaverton history, this growing body of more detailed biographies that we're finding, and start to work that information through a certain lens or a certain theme that would effectively be able to address the need for kind of a summary history, like you might see, you know, in like informational packets if you were to join Beaverton government or maybe move to Beaverton, or, you know, access on the website, things like that. So I think, Alexis, that's everything that we sort of like knew we wanted to share with you all. And we would just love to invite as many questions and comments and input or whatever. We understand that we can't have this whole conversation with all of you in the space today. So please know that we are really enthusiastic for you to follow up with us if you're interested in doing so at all. Alexis, maybe you can help us with like the best ways to disseminate our contact info, but it's also just on the Five Oaks Museum website for anyone, anytime who wants to be in touch.
Yeah, and I'll be sending a follow-up email with some key contact information and sort of some summary. And there's been several invitations already tonight, so I'll be sending that to the board afterwards. And I think what we did last time maybe was just put your contact info, Molly, as just like the first, you know, to choose one of you.
Yep.
And so I'll add that in the email as well.
That's great.
But yes, what do you all think? What comments and questions do you have? How did it feel to look through those bios in advance of this meeting? Maybe we'll just, yeah, go ahead and open that up and then see if there's other descriptions we need to dive into.
Yeah, and I remember, let me tack on a couple more prompts. We've been saying it a bunch, but the name, we don't feel that it's quite arrived at something that can hold what we really want for this project. So if anybody has thoughts about that, we're really open to it. And also input now, or to think about and keep in touch with us about how can we continue to be engaged with you all specifically as an entity in a way that is as meaningful as possible, without, you know, being too burdensome on you, but really wanting to just, you know, not just check in every 6 months, but really let you all help us shape a project that has as much community input as we can. Thanks.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you all the team for Five Oaks, and we wish you like a good project, and because we need those things honestly to keep, you know, our archive and as a resource and reference when we need it. So I believe it's a great project. Any question for the team till they are here, and any ideas maybe we can add?
Thanks so much, Ahmed. It looks like Rihanna.
Oh yeah, hi. Thank you for the presentation. It's really informative. So I have one question. Those biographies that you presented to us, are they comprehensive, or are you willing to add more? Because I can think of someone who maybe should be on that list who's not.
Yes, we are willing to add more. I think
Okay.
that's part of like the great unknown that we're ready to venture into with this next phase. But we know that there would never be enough biographies to fully capture the history, but this was just our starting point.
Okay, yeah. And I think I did provide the name of that person, but maybe I'll provide it again. Yeah. Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Rihanna. And honestly, as someone represent the Arabic community, I wish we will have someone speak Arabic in that bio too. That would be awesome. And if you need help with that, that would be, I can help with that. So I think we have a question for Amit. Yes.
It wasn't a question, but maybe a suggestion, and you may have already considered this. But so the city of Beaverton prints out this newsletter, I believe it's like once per month. And I'm wondering maybe putting something in there as well, inviting from the community basically. So some communities we're not able to reach because we just don't have the in with them, right? But they live here and they might see that and they'll go, oh yeah, this is something we can contribute to. So it'll kind of open it up for others as well. That was just a suggestion. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. And that's a mailed out newsletter? Like a physical hard copy? Cool. Alexis maybe be able to help us with that.
Yeah, I think we could think about what options. We were thinking actually in the spring of announcing more about this project in that newsletter. I think we have to think thoughtfully about who are we trying to target and what would we do if the 65,000 households that get that newsletter were to respond, versus a more targeted group of folks that we're trying to close those research gaps on. But I do think it's a really interesting suggestion in terms of like a broader call for names and tidbits. So maybe there's a way to construct that in a way that would really get us what we need. Absolutely.
Thank you all so much. This is exactly what we were hoping for.
Rihanna, did you
no.
have another comment or did you just still have your hand up? No worries. Either way.
No, sorry, that's from previous one. Thanks.
Any other questions or suggestion, comment? So maybe I have a question, like all those information, how you got, like as a team, how you got those information, and do we like expect in the future we will have like a very physical like museum, like a big one here in Beaverton we can visit? Thank you.
Who wants to jump in?
I'll speak to that. Amit, I think I'm hearing you. I sort of heard you maybe ask a couple questions like, what was some of the sourcing of where did the information come from? Okay, I'm going to pass that one to Mariah and Victoria. But then I also heard you sort of saying, will there be like a physical something that folks could come see, like maybe an exhibition at the museum that features this content or something like that? Was that your question?
Yes.
Great. So actually the project as we originally envisioned it, we thought we could sort of we thought we might be able to jump a little faster from the research to something like that. So there's the orientation of the project is to create something like that. But what we learned in the initial phase was that we needed to have a little less of a predetermined timeline and plan to make room to really be listening and, finding resources that are harder to find, pursuing individual like folks for information about themselves, but also maybe about community members so that we could have better information and also do the work in a way that allows for us to apply the kinds of practices of being responsive to community needs and not be like in a big hurry or, pressing people for information and things like that. And so one of the adjustments that we made was kind of moving the set timeline of when we would work towards a really splashy public presentation. And it is our hope that as we continue to deepen our research out into the community and kind of, in partnership with Alexis and the team at Beaverton, bring in sort of like slowly widening spheres of stakeholders and community members, that we will also learn more about really what would be of value. Is it a publication that's needed because that resource could be located in the places where people would be able to, access the information better? Or should it be a virtual exhibition? Is there a need for a community event with food and music, because those moments, help people feel present in a way that needs to complement the historical record aspect of it. So we're kind of also planning something along those lines, but not sure exactly what it is, and really excited to learn more from community members like all of you, what would really be meaningful to help you feel that your community and yourself are represented. And then Mariah, Victoria, do you want to share a little bit about some of your research process?
Yeah, I will share about our research process. We sort of divided into different subject areas. So Mariah looked especially in the museum's collection, like our oral histories and through our ephemera and documents in Beaverton's history. And then another place that we looked for biographies was reaching out to different organizations. So a number of the folks we found through the Immigrant Story, which has a website with quite a few Beaverton folks represented there. And then also we found that the tech industry specifically actually keeps pretty good records of who's worked with them. So given that the tech industry is big in Beaverton, we were able to work with the Tektronix Museum to identify people of color who've been their employees in the past. And many of those former Tektronix employees, went on to have various other community impacts.
Thank you so much. And if there is no other questions, we will move for next our agenda item. It's will be like understanding the role for DAB and the DEI plan. So I think Alexis, you can have the mic again. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, again, thanks so much, Molly, Mariah, and Victoria. I'll send out that contact information, and as folks are just taking it all in and have additional comments, we'll keep the communication going. But thanks again for being here tonight and for all the great work. We're so excited.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Ahmed.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm going to share a little PowerPoint and just talk through a little bit when we met as a new leadership team a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the fact that it might be helpful to both to new members and also to returning members as we launched the year of DAB in 2022, just to kind of launch from a place of understanding the board's purpose, reviewing the board's purpose and role, and also a little bit about the foundational diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, because that's really where the board's work has centered and continued to kind of be anchored to from year to year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those things just to give you all an overview, and then please let me know what questions you have or comments, and also hopefully lean on returning members for some additional context that you think is important. I think it's always richer when we tell this story together and wrestle with it together. I think the other just piece of context I will say is that one thing we realized last year was that as we were approaching one of the key pieces of the board's work in the fall, which is to review the annual report prepared by staff on the city's progress on implementing the DEI plan, that it was sort of like we hadn't talked about the plan for quite a while, and then we were jumping right into this review, and it would have been helpful to remember early on and early and often throughout the year, again, that you all play this critical accountability role for us as a city, that you help sort of live and breathe that plan for us and help hold us accountable to, are we accomplishing those goals and indicators? So that's the other reason for the DEI plan highlight. And of course, next month in the retreat, we will we'll dive deeper into what the board wants to focus on in this year particular. But so with all of that, I think those are just so that you understand sort of the goal or where this came from. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. So we're going to talk just a little bit about understanding the role of the DAB and the DEI plan. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to flash up some sections or some, sections and summary of the bylaws for the board, which were updated last year. You all helped approve some updates to include some additional language in there, but they're similar to what it's looked like in the past. So the purpose of the board is to advise the city on diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies, and really an emphasis on strategies that help us strengthen the relationships between diverse communities and city government. And specifically the Diversity Advisory Board has had a focus specifically on connecting with communities of color and immigrant and refugee communities in Beaverton. And so again, partly a focus on those strategies and partly a focus on relationship building are really the core things that you all are asked to do as a board on behalf of the city. And that ties into the work that my program does and some other pieces that we'll go over in a minute. In terms of the duties, in Article 3 of the bylaws, there are several things that are listed. I just kind of summarized in shorter language here. It asks you all as a board to advise on outreach strategies to engage communities of color, to, as we said, maintain and periodically I talked about the yearly review and feedback on the DEI plan report, but also to maintain and periodically revise the DEI plan. So the first plan was adopted in January of 2015, and the Diversity Advisory Board really helped write that in their first year in 2014. And then again in 2018, the board went through a process in 2019 to renew that plan, to renew the goals in that plan. So you all have a role into the future in really making sure that that plan's up to date and is reflecting the values and the goals that you all help us design. Also tasked with or asked to help us with promoting efforts to involve folks from these different communities in all the different opportunities that we have at the city. So whether that be on boards and commissions or in temporary committees, neighborhood associations, and helping diversify staff. So to sort of a nod back to Matt's announcement earlier tonight about support with hiring panels, etc. Also, you're tasked with promoting the board to the public and providing information about the DAB to the public. So that's always something that the board tries to do. But I think, continuing to think about what are the ways that this can happen so that people from all different communities know that the Diversity Advisory Board exists and why, and are encouraged to apply so that we can have maximum representation on the board. Certainly to advise the city council and mayor on ways that we can increase participation in decision making. So thinking about different ways that the city makes decisions and how to invite people, residents closer into that process, whether that be about budget or about programming or whatever. A piece that I think we've done from time to time, but maybe it was good for me to read back to see this one as well. Maybe we haven't done this as much in the last couple of years, but is advising on public information and communications materials to make sure that they're culturally responsive and presented in understandable formats. So helping the city communicate with diverse communities and making sure that we're doing that in a way that is accessible. And then certainly going to city council and reporting on activities of the board. That's usually done at the end of the year when leadership goes and presents your progress ratings to city council directly on the staff report of implementation. That's how it's happened the last couple of years, but definitely having a presence at council and communication with city council is important. And then of course, other things that come up along the way, other duties as assigned. But so that's what the bylaws say. I think that's an important place to start. I will keep going, but please interrupt and ask questions if you have them along the way. The next thing I wanted to share was just a little diagram to just say that there are several key ingredients to the city's diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And you all and the DEI plan are two of the core ingredients. And they interact in many ways with different staff at the city and interact with each other. And so what this just shows you is that the Diversity Advisory Board, again, advising on direction, helping us to connect with communities, and really bringing your lived experience and your perspectives to the table is really crucial for furthering DEI work at the city. The DEI plan itself is the core document that we use to provide direction for staff and elected leaders as well. And it contains a lot of aspirational goals and what the community wants to see. And I can say from a staff perspective, we're just entering the budget season. And so we are asked to tie all of our budget requests as staff to both the community vision and also the DEI plan. So that's actually in our budget now. And so it's really one of the core documents that helps guide staff work, which is really important. The cultural inclusion team is one of the teams is one of the programs that I oversee at the city. And so we are kind of in some ways, the boots on the ground inside City Hall to help implement these pieces. Of course, it's happening across departments, but in terms of staff that are focused directly on implementing the DEI plan and the work that you all lay out for us, we're kind of the most direct connection and bring some capacity and best practices to the table. And then you also have an internal counterpart, which is the internal equity team, and that's a cross-departmental group that meets on a monthly basis as well to try to further internal organizational policies and organizational culture in the direction of DEI, some of which is in the DEI plan and some of which is just internal policy that maybe didn't make it in there. But so these entities, I think, are just really important to understand how they cross over and that they are different arms of this work and different levers that we use at different times to further the work, but they're all resources to you all, and you all are considered a tremendous resource to the rest of them. Ugana, yeah, would you like to ask a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Alexis. So you had mentioned that part of our DEI plan is to, you mentioned diverse hiring as part of the plan. So how does the board implement that? Yeah.
So I think there's a couple different pieces that have happened in the past, and we're, I think, open to exploring other ones as well. But one is that you all have acted as representatives on hiring panels for higher level positions. So for the city, I believe for the city manager and for department directors, you all have been invited to the table. Also for Beaverton Police Department, they often reach out for a representative on their panels. So that's one way. I think the other way is that the Human Resources Department has reached out a couple times and actually is sort of in the queue for this year to come back, the HR director and their recruitment specialist to come to the board to ask for advice, collaboration, support with recruitment efforts. They're definitely very interested in how do we utilize you all and your expertise, but also sort of in a balanced way, right? Because you all are volunteers and you give a tremendous amount of your time, but how can you act in that advising role, again, to improve those efforts at the city?
So I have a follow-up question. This might sound stupid, but how does this extend to private entities?
Does the board's advising?
Yes, in any capacity.
I would say no, not really. I certainly, I think there are times where different entities reach out and they utilize the DEI plan, or they, want to connect with the board in different ways. But you all are, in your bylaws, pretty squarely charged with advising the city as an institution. I think that's a really important point as we talk about role and sort of limitations, right? There's often lots of interesting and equity related things happening in the city as a whole or the state as a whole. And sometimes we have to kind of try to pull back down into, what is the Diversity Advisory Board's charge? And that is squarely to advise the city of Beaverton. So I think that's an important point. Of course, there are deviations from that from time to time, but thanks for bringing that up. Okay, a couple of other slides to show you all, and then I'll stop sharing screen so we can see you all. I think one really important piece, and I'm only going to skim over this, is that the DEI plan, the E stands for equity. And so when we are, when you all as a board are thinking about how to advise the city, it's really through an equity lens and helping the city improve its equity lens so that we're not using one size fits all approaches, but rather looking at and hearing from you all from the experience of marginalized communities to speak out and say, this is what we need, and this is what hasn't happened in the past, and this is what we want to see so that all communities have can be successful and have successful outcomes in Beaverton. So it's really about shifting sort of the traditional government mindset of equality. We have to sort of dole out everything equally to what does an equity lens or equity mindset look like, and that's something that you all have helped tremendously the city progress in. So the diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, the plan that we use the version of the plan that we use currently is the 2019 update, but we just call it the DEI plan now because the previous one is sort of retired. For all intents and purposes, we sort of migrated things that were still not completed into this plan that you all wanted to keep, and then we added new things. There are one thing that you all also did back in 2018-19 was to update the key terms. And so these are the key definitions that we use for these terms at the city to guide this work. So you can see diversity, equity, and inclusion. Equity really talking about structural barriers that have historically disadvantaged certain groups, working to remove those and make sure that everybody has access to the opportunities and tools to thrive, and thinking about how we measure that. So I think those are some great definitions, and just to say again that those are both guide the work of the board and also the work of the city. The plan itself has 6 priority areas, and you can see those on the screen now. So as the work progresses throughout the year, the city works on implementing the goals and indicators in the plan, and then we also report out in these different sections, right? So you all will get a document, or you can see the one from last year where you see side by side. Under public engagement, we said we were going to do youth engagement, or you all set out that we should do youth engagement in this way. This is what we've done so far. Where do you see the gaps, or what additional work needs to be done, and help give us a progress rating in each of those 6 areas. So that kind of gives you a sense of the breadth of it. I think the other thing that's important is that about this is just to see that each one of these areas is very squarely within the city's sort of jurisdiction. So you no longer, while health, for example, is an incredibly important issue, right? And there's a lot of issues around health equity. The city itself doesn't normally manage things related to community health or health care. That's more under the purview of the county. So you don't see that as one of these priority areas. So again, as you're thinking about what should the board focus on for the year, and how does the board help keep the city accountable, you want to look back at these goals and areas, and also this filter of these are the things that we really think the city can have maximum impact on, and that you all can hold the institution of the city of Beaverton accountable for. So you'll see some crossover, but again, you won't see an entire section on education, K-12 education, or an entire section on healthcare, or something else that is really sort of lives at a different area of government primarily. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was just this summary of the annual board ratings. So last year, the group went through the 6 different sections, and you see on the left side of the screen are the progress rating options that were put into the plan. So each year you all evaluate the staff report in these 6 different areas, and you pick a progress rating. And the idea with these progress ratings is both to sort of show how do we think we're doing this year, and then also to highlight where progress is not being made as rapidly as you all would like to see, or not being made, period. And also to indicate when it's time to renew the plan. So the plan is generally on a cycle of about 5 years. When the language gets renewed, the goals get renewed, and all of that. But there's another way to trigger that would be if I think it says 75% or more of the goals and indicators reached this successful level. Right? What a great problem to have. That would be if we got those done in 2 years or something like that. But so you can see here in 2021, 3 of the different areas received a moderate progress rating, and 3 of the different areas received a developing progress rating for 2021. So I'm going to stop sharing screen and just invite any questions or comments, or folks who were a part of that rating process last year. If you want to share anything that you think is important for new members to know, or as you're going into this year, I think that would be helpful. Yeah, Mike, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike, and then Olga.
So I saw that public safety is one of our priorities. Has the DAB worked in tandem with the Beaverton CERT team in that program? And if not, then is there an opportunity for us to?
Monica, I'm wondering if you want to say a word about Listos, because I think that's the primary example of where some of you have.
For the program Listos, that was a great program, which I haven't seen that again, if they're doing it or not. I don't know. And that was something that it has helped on the safety, because when you go to those the program Listos, that's something that it helps you to understand how can you help the community in the cases of emergency and keep the safety of the community. It's a lot of things to learn that, Alexis. I don't know if you know if they're doing again or they have done the program, because I haven't heard anything, and I would like to know that so I can pass to somebody else. Because when I did that, I learned how important was to know what they teach you there in case of an emergency and you need to help your neighbors, which majority of us, we don't know where is to turn it off the gas if you have a gas, where is to turn it off the water to stop the flood or anything, in an earthquake and going and finding people. It was amazing, but I haven't heard it. They're still doing that, because I did Listos and CERT. I did both in English and Spanish. So sure, yes, we do participate and we do have on that. So
yeah, so I think
it's an amazing program that I think everybody should try to go and take the course. It takes like 6 weeks, once or twice, I can remember, but it's fabulous. It's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. So it's been a few years. Listos does happen I'm not as sure about the last couple of years during COVID, but it had happened every single year since about 2015, which I think is when you participated, Monica, and some different members on the board. And essentially it's a culturally adapted, a Spanish language version of CERT, which is the Community Emergency Response Team. So that was a collaboration with emergency management that several members of the board did. But I would say it's been probably since then that the Diversity Advisory Board has collaborated specifically with emergency management. So that's a great thing to bring up as a possibility.
And we also participate with the police trainings too, because we did, I did, oh my God, the police, that is called now Police Citizen.
Community Academy.
Yeah, it is fantastic too, that those as part of safety and understanding all of the situation of the police and what they do, how they work and everything. So I think that members, we've been doing a lot of that. We've been participating and it does help. I think what we haven't done is kind of communicate more to others about it so they can be interested in going, and perhaps that's something that we, the ones we've been done that, we can talk about it and make other members, interested in going and having that opportunity.
Yeah, thanks. Olga, were you going to share something?
I want to add that so many information at once. And for if you ever need our help, like my help to proofreading any materials in Russian, I'll be happy to help. And because the community, that it's not a huge community in Beaverton, Russian speaking, but just in case if you need some essential information, I would like to volunteer for that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so bringing up that public communications piece again that we haven't touched on intentionally in a while as well. Awesome.
And Alexis, I want to add, like maybe Mike can hear that, like we have as a diversity advisory board, we have a good relationship with CERT. Even they help us a lot with Beaverton Night Market last year, and they provide a lot of help to keep the flow for the crowd, and they was like deep involved with a Beaverton Night Market, and we appreciate that. And I think we will have something soon. I'm not sure yet. For all the community with the CERT soon. Is there any other question or comment we have? Or I think Monica?
I just want to mention now that we're talking about, because some of us or the members of that, we've been doing different courses and taking these opportunities. I think that's the reason that they don't know in the other boards what we're doing is because we haven't talked much about it, how many of us we've been assisting on that. So maybe we can find out a way to the other boards know to understand that the DAF members have been doing this for safety or any other areas that is not mentioned in the book, and we can say, that the DAF members have been or are involved in this, so we have a knowledge about what it is. I think it's important I just talking right now and realizing that a lot of people don't know that we've done that before. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monica. So are there any other comments or questions, or we will move to the next item? I think we are good with the timing. So next item in our agenda will be like our board meeting and logistics check-in. So Alexis?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things to consider here. One piece is that usually every February the board gets together and does a retreat. So a longer meeting, usually in lieu of the regular, so we cancel the regularly scheduled February meeting and instead gather on a Saturday for a longer period of time. And really the focus of that retreat is, of course, relationship building. You all only got to introduce yourselves for a minute tonight, but really some time to build those relationships, and then also to set the course for this year. So the board for the last few years has chosen 2 or 3 different priority areas, focus areas for the year, and then also some concrete goals that you can work towards throughout the year. So that's an important time. I think that the leadership came up with a couple different dates. We were talking about going for a Saturday again this year. And let me remember, unless you remember, Ahmed, I'm gonna open up this email. Looks like we were looking at either Saturday, February 12th or Saturday, February 19th, proposed from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So one just really concrete thing we wanted to do with all of you is get a sense of, would you be available on one or both of those dates? Is there a preference? Is there support to gather on a Saturday this year to do that work?
So Alexis, do you want them to send you email everybody, or we will do it right now? What do you like to do?
Well, I'd like to get a little input today. I may
Okay.
send out a survey with like a couple of different things I want to ask all of you, but let's just have some conversation today about, does that still sound like a good plan for this year, and what's availability look like? Any other concerns or questions? Monica.
It's going to be in person?
So I think one of the things that we need to talk about as a board is people's comfort level. We don't currently really have a place where in the city where we can meet where the tech is good enough to have a hybrid meeting. So it's sort of like an all in or we're probably still virtual for a while. That question I don't want to make everybody answer necessarily in front of everyone, but I want you to be thinking about it. If you're comfortable meeting as a group, it's something that I think we could do. I think another option that I've been thinking about too is that if February isn't quite the month where we have everybody that feels comfortable doing that, we could do a social gathering that would allow us to do some of that team building, that people can come if they want to, and then we could have the business meeting virtual so that we could have kind of a combination. But absolutely, please share that as well. If you have strong feelings one way or another, this is the time to share that.
On the dates, I will keep open both, so it doesn't matter to me. So the dates, either one, whoever you guys chose. So I'm gonna keep open that. So, but I wish we can be in person.
So
my
I have
wish.
so I have a question, Alexis. Like, it should happen in February, or we can do it like in spring or in summer, and we will have the example, maybe outside retreat. So what do you think?
So I think that it's really important that we do the priority and goal setting early on.
Okay.
I think we can do a social gathering or a social component of the meeting as an add-on at any time or multiple times throughout the year. So those are all options, but I do think it's pretty important that in February we have a deeper conversation about what do you all want to focus on for the year, because it just goes by so fast.
Hello, this is Manile. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, manager.
Yeah, Saturday the 19th works for me, and I go for the group meeting retreat from 9 to 11, whatever, on Saturday the 19th. And I think we can kind of follow the protocols and wear masks and keep our distances. And I go for that route.
Thank you.
I do want to point out that the 19th is a 3-day weekend, I believe. Monday is a holiday, so some families might have like plans for a 3-day weekend, so it may not work, but just, I mean, right now I'm open, doesn't matter, but I just thought I'd just point that out.
Thank you.
And we have in chat, Alexis, if you saw like Harold, like he says, I'm open to both of those dates. So I think we have 4 confirmation right now total.
And I'm open to either of those dates as well. I don't see an issue.
This is manager.
No, sure.
Saturday the 12th, I already have another meeting.
And I see Olga, both dates. Thank you.
Alexis, I'm not available on February 12th, but the 19th is open for me.
Thank you.
I'm available on the 19th too, so.
Look like 19 is gonna be a good time. But we are looking for in-person one. It doesn't have to be inside the city building. So we can go to a restaurant like we did in 2019. Some places that we can meet. Let's check temperature. How many of you is ready to meet in person? Come on, it's been 2 years.
Yeah. And again, I think it's totally, we do have to meet in a public place that we can notice and invite the public. And we have to have the facilities to be able to do that and be able to spend that much time there. But I also think that if there are folks that don't feel comfortable, and again, I will poll you separately, you don't have to speak up now if you don't want to, but if there are folks that don't feel comfortable, then I think, one solution is to have the business part of the meeting be virtual and have some other components that are in person. And we could certainly do that. And if there are people that can't participate in that part, that's okay. We just want to make sure that people feel safe.
Roman, he says like both date work for him too. So do we have how many people they agree on 19th till now?
I haven't heard anybody rule out the 19th. Was the 19th
so-
not work, absolutely not work for anyone? Looks like that's our date.
Yeah, I think yes, the 19th.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, that's progress.
And
Yeah.
we can meet even in the community activities, the buildings on the other side of the library.
We can't meet there, unfortunately. The shelter is running 24 hours a day there, as well as the tax assistance site. So where that building is fully being utilized. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
But
you. Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Sorry
No,
about that.
that's the perfect location if it weren't
Yeah.
shelter time. Mhm.
Especially with parking lots and access.
But I'm happy that it's being used for a good cause.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Let's go to the Boric one.
I think they're,
So-
yeah, we'll check into some options.
Yep. And our meeting almost done. So is there any update or briefing decision items, staff liaison announcement, other follow-up announcement?
Yes, there are. I'm going to share my screen really quick. This is what I usually do for the staff liaison announcements. I will send you this document as well, along with some other notes and contact information for the guests that were here tonight. But just a couple of things to share with you. Of course, we have the names of new folks, so welcome again. And so glad to have our returning folks as well. A reminder that that invitation from Casera Phipps, one of our planners, to participate in this equity analysis on the Cooper Mountain Plan options is coming up. She would like to know by January 20th if you're interested in participating. So please let her know or let me know. It would be great to have at least a couple of DAB members that are participating in that meeting. So please respond to that if you can. Let me know. Actually, if you could let me know either way so that I know if we have somebody from DAB to send her. And then there's Unite Oregon housing events sorry, I've got my screen, lots of things on my screen. Monica, I think I saw your hand there. Is that you would like to participate?
Monica, you are muted. You are muted, Monica.
I'm sorry. I was saying that I would like to go to that meeting for
Great.
the class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I
Yeah.
need to contact?
Meeting manager, I'm already in their meeting, so if that can count. I attend all their meetings.
Okay, this is a special meeting that they're calling in February that they haven't set the date for yet and will be built around folks that can be at it, the actual
Okay,
time of
please,
that. So.
Please count me in
Great.
that case.
Okay, perfect. I will send Casera both of your names and just let her know to connect with you. If there's anybody else, let me know that from between now and January 20th. There's also the Unite Oregon housing event. So I'll send that flyer along. That's the events that Jenna Hughes talked about at the beginning of the meeting. And I wanted to announce that the BOLD program, the leadership program for immigrants, refugees, and folks of color in Beaverton that we do in collaboration with Unite Oregon every year is now recruiting for our 10th anniversary class. So we're very excited that it's the 10th anniversary. So if you or somebody you know might be interested in that leadership program, it's free of cost. You don't have to be a fluent English speaker. And it's really, really a terrific program. Several people on the board, including some of our new members, have participated in that program if you have questions about that. But the application is up now on our website, so please help spread the word. We're looking for folks to participate. And then I always share some information from the city's public information team. So these are updates that go to all the boards and commissions and all the neighborhood associations so that you all have some important key information that we're trying to push out right now. So this first announcement is on the utility billing online payments. So there's they've changed the system, and so people who have auto pay set up need to go in and enter their information because the current auto pay setup won't work anymore with this update. So this is really important. If you get water from the city of Beaverton, make sure that you go in and update your information. There is just some information about advisories, winter weather advisories for you there, how to, good reminders along the lines of emergency management. So again, I'll send this out to you. And then just to save the date for the 2022 State of the City that Mayor Beatty will be hosting on March 29th at noon. And so there'll be more details and invitations for you all, but wanted to get that on your calendars. So those are the updates from staff liaison updates. If there's any diversity advisory board member announcements, I think Carol had something he wanted to share. So I'll pass the mic to him, and then if there's anybody else.
Yeah, I just wanted to share an update about the event that I shared in the November DAB meeting about the Seva Diwali, which is a festival for us, and we, since last 3 years, we have been using it to serve the community. And this year also, we collected foods and we donated to 3 pantries. And this time we collected over 21,000 pounds of food with help of 200 volunteers, 13 orgs, and 25 collection centers. I had 1 collection center at my house, and it was a great experience. This is just data showing that we started in 2019 and the growth in 2021 in terms of food donated, pantries, volunteers, organization, and collection centers. So these are some pictures about that. So this one is at the Beaverton Police Department. We donated to their pantry as well. So yeah, just wanted to share this and thank you all for your support. We also reached out to Mayor Beatty, and she also appreciated the effort. And yeah, it was great experience.
Thank you so much for sharing this, and thank you, Alexis, for sharing all this information. I think we are on time. And are there any question, any comment you want to share with us before we call to end this meeting? Monica?
I just want to say congratulations to you. I'm very excited having you this year with that as a chairperson. Thank you so much.
And yeah, without all the member support, we will not be able to do anything. So thank you. And I like the teamwork we have in this team. And I believe all people in this room will do their best to serve our community with the best they can. So I think this meeting now officially adjourned. Thanks for everyone, and see you next time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.